For decades, buying a Chinese car meant buying it for exactly one reason: it was cheap. Reviewers mocked the build quality without hesitation. Critics dismissed these vehicles as knockoffs of superior cars from more established nations. Western automakers didn't even bother glancing in their direction. Nobody genuinely believed China could produce anything worth serious consideration. Then the Avatr 12 rolled onto the scene and upended that entire narrative. A vehicle with no rear window whatsoever, relying on cameras instead. 4 laser sensors continuously scanning the road from every angle simultaneously. Every single seat equipped with heating, cooling, and massage functions. A dashboard display stretching nearly 35 inches across, wider than the television mounted in most people's living rooms. It accelerates to 60 miles per hour in roughly 3.9 seconds, quick enough to match some of the priciest performance sedans on Earth. And the company behind this machine partnered with the planet's largest battery producer, alongside one of the world's most significant technology corporations. By the time this video concludes, you'll understand precisely how we traveled from punchlines about cheap knockoffs to the Avatr 12, and why the entire automotive industry is watching this development with genuine concern right now. Producing videos like this demands considerable time and effort, so if you're enjoying what you've seen so far, please tap that like button and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming, because this particular story is only just getting started. Rewind back to the 2000s, and if you asked anyone remotely familiar with automobiles what they thought about Chinese manufactured vehicles, you'd receive the identical response every single time: a smirk, perhaps a quiet chuckle. Chinese automakers were essentially attempting to replicate what everyone else had already perfected, yet they consistently lagged 5 or 10 steps behind the competition. The vehicles were affordable, certainly, but affordability was their sole selling point. They lacked the engineering heritage carried by German manufacturers like BMW or Mercedes. They lacked the reliability track record built by Japanese brands such as Toyota or Honda. They lacked the bold, confident styling associated with American manufacturers like Ford or Chevrolet. Nobody glanced at a Chinese sedan and thought, this could genuinely rival a BMW 5 Series. And yet that's precisely what the Avatr 12 accomplishes today. Picture the global automotive industry as a classroom setting. German manufacturers were the straight-A students everyone admired from a distance. Japanese manufacturers were the quiet achievers who consistently delivered solid, dependable work without drawing attention to themselves. American manufacturers were the boisterous personalities with oversized engines and even bigger attitudes. And Chinese manufacturers sat quietly in the back row, barely scraping by, while everyone else assumed they'd never amount to much of anything. The Avatr 12 represents that student from the back row, suddenly standing up and delivering something so genuinely impressive that the entire room falls completely silent. But here's something worth remembering about narratives like this one. They only remain accurate until the exact moment they don't anymore. What began unfolding across China over recent years wasn't merely an incremental step forward. It resembled someone flipping a switch, and an entire industry abruptly woke up overnight. Chinese automakers stopped attempting to imitate established competitors. They started posing an entirely different question altogether. What if a vehicle doesn't need to resemble or feel like anything that came before it whatsoever? What if you discard every assumption about what a dashboard should look like, what a rear window should accomplish, what seats are supposed to do, and instead begin with a completely blank sheet of paper? The Avatr 12 stands as the most striking response to that particular question yet produced. But to genuinely understand how this vehicle came into existence, you need to know about 3 companies that decided to collaborate together. Most vehicles get manufactured by a single company operating independently. Ford builds Fords, Toyota builds Toyotas, BMW builds BMWs. That's essentially how the industry has functioned for well over a century. But the Avatr 12 emerged through an entirely different arrangement altogether. It originated from a partnership uniting three separate companies, each contributing something the other two simply didn't possess. And that particular partnership represents the entire reason this vehicle exists at all. The first company is Changan Automobile. They've been manufacturing vehicles throughout China since the 1950s, longer than most automotive brands you've ever encountered. They understand precisely how to operate factories capable of producing hundreds of thousands of vehicles annually. If this partnership functioned like a musical group, Changan would occupy the drummer's role, steady, dependable, keeping everything precisely on rhythm. Without their involvement, the Avatr 12 would never have made it off the assembly line whatsoever. The second company is CATL. If that particular name is unfamiliar to you, it's genuinely worth learning immediately, because CATL manufactures batteries, powering an enormous percentage of every electric vehicle currently operating on Earth. Whenever you spot an electric car cruising down the street, there's a genuinely strong probability the battery inside originated from CATL. They stand as the largest battery manufacturer found anywhere on the planet. Within this particular partnership, they contribute the energy component entirely. They're the reason the Avatr 12 can travel hundreds of kilometers on a single charge and recharge quickly enough to make lengthy road trips genuinely practical. The third company is Huawei. You might recognize that particular name through smartphones, but Huawei actually ranks among the largest technology corporations found anywhere on the planet. They construct phones, networking infrastructure, software platforms, and artificial intelligence systems across numerous industries. What they contribute toward the Avatr 12 is essentially the brain, the operating system powering the dashboard, the driver assistance technology continuously monitoring the road, the voice recognition capability that genuinely comprehends what you're actually saying. All the elements that make this particular vehicle feel considerably less like ordinary machinery and considerably more like an enormous smart device equipped with wheels. The Avatr 12 has no rear window whatsoever. Rather than glass, the back of the vehicle presents a smooth, solid surface instead. A camera system mounted externally transmits live video feed directly to screens positioned inside the cabin, allowing the driver to still monitor everything happening behind them. When you first hear this described, it sounds strange, perhaps even somewhat absurd. Why would anyone eliminate a window entirely? But upon witnessing the Avatr 12 in person, something genuinely shifts in your perception. The rear appears clean and complete in a manner no other vehicle on the road quite matches. It looks as though removing that window represented the obvious choice all along, and everyone else simply never considered it. Combine that with the muscular rear fenders, the massive wheels, and flowing lines extending from front to back without any interruption whatsoever, and you get a vehicle that doesn't appear to be competing against European luxury sedans. It appears to have already moved decisively past them, patiently waiting for everyone else to eventually catch up. And that particular sensation only intensifies once you actually open the door. There's a distinctive feeling you experience sitting inside a vehicle designed by people who genuinely cared about every single detail involved. You simply cannot fake that sensation. You either feel it immediately upon sitting down or you don't feel it whatsoever. The Avatr 12 delivers that feeling from the very first second. Stretching across the entire cabin width sits one continuous digital display running nearly 35 inches from side to side. Navigation, speed readouts, music controls, driving information, everything displayed within one seamless, unified interface. German luxury vehicles feature excellent dashboards, certainly, but compared against the Avatr 12, they suddenly feel cluttered and fragmented into disconnected pieces. It resembles the difference between admiring one enormous painting mounted on a wall versus a wall covered entirely in dozens of small, individually framed photographs. Both arrangements can look attractive, certainly, but only one feels genuinely unified and deliberately intentional. The Avatr 12 feels as though someone actually contemplated how human beings process information while driving, then constructed the entire display around that specific person's needs. So you've got a company that genuinely understands vehicle manufacturing, a company producing the world's finest batteries, and a company constructing cutting-edge software solutions. When those three organizations sat down together, they weren't attempting to construct something merely average. They wanted to build something capable of standing directly alongside a Mercedes, a BMW, or a Tesla without appearing remotely out of place. They wanted to construct something potentially capable of making those established competitors appear outdated by comparison. What emerged from that collaboration is the Avatr 12, and to genuinely understand why it has the entire automotive world talking, you need to actually see what it looks like. The Avatr 12 qualifies as a genuinely large vehicle. It measures 5,020 millimeters in length, longer than a BMW 5 Series. The wheelbase extends 3,020 millimeters, placing it directly in the same territory occupied by a Mercedes EQE. These represent full-size luxury sedan dimensions, the kind typically associated with vehicles costing double the price. But despite its considerable size, it doesn't carry that bulk the way you'd normally anticipate. Traditional luxury sedans stand tall and upright, almost as though dressed formally for an important business meeting. The Avatr 12 does precisely the opposite. It crouches low and wide, featuring a roofline sweeping downward from front to rear in one continuous flowing curve. It resembles a droplet of water sculpted by wind resistance. It appears to be moving even while sitting completely stationary in a parking spot. The front end eliminates the grille entirely. For well over a century, virtually every vehicle on the road has featured some variation of a grille. The Avatr 12 essentially declares that requirement obsolete. Instead, you get a smooth, sculpted front surface featuring extraordinarily thin LED headlights, stretching across like glowing blades of light. At night, when this vehicle pulls up behind you at a traffic signal, you might genuinely question whether it arrived from a decade into the future. Then there are the frameless doors. Most vehicles feature a visible metal frame surrounding the window whenever the door closes. Frameless doors eliminate that frame entirely, granting the vehicle a considerably cleaner, more futuristic appearance. It's precisely the sort of detail typically reserved for vehicles costing 2 or 3 times as much. But the Avatr 12 isn't attempting to merely match what European luxury sedans currently offer. It's attempting to fundamentally redefine what luxury actually means altogether. That becomes most apparent toward the rear. The Avatr 12 has no rear window whatsoever. Positioned below that sits a substantial touchscreen within the center console, running software developed by Huawei. If you've ever operated a premium Huawei smartphone, you already understand exactly how fast and fluid their software genuinely feels. This represents that identical experience, scaled upward and integrated directly into the Avatr 12. Climate control, driving modes, navigation, music playback, everything operates through this unified system, functioning precisely the way you've always wished automotive technology would function. No lag whatsoever, no waiting around, no tapping something repeatedly while hoping it eventually responds appropriately. Voice commands represent an area where most automotive systems still feel firmly stuck in the past. You speak a request, the vehicle mishears it entirely. You attempt again, and eventually you simply give up trying altogether. The Avatr 12 genuinely comprehends what you're actually saying. Adjust the temperature, locate a nearby restaurant, switch the music selection, navigate toward a specific address, and it simply executes the command immediately. It feels remarkably similar to conversing with an attentive assistant who's perpetually paying close attention to your needs. The seats are wrapped in premium leather that feels genuinely soft and expensive against your skin. Every single seating position throughout the Avatr 12 includes heating, cooling, and massage functionality. Not merely the front seats, every single one throughout the cabin. That substantial wheelbase means rear passengers enjoy legroom, making extended trips genuinely comfortable. You're stretched out, thoroughly relaxed, almost reminiscent of sitting within the rear cabin of a private jet. A panoramic glass roof floods the cabin with natural light, making the interior feel even more expansive and open. The materials used throughout feel genuinely premium. Everything you physically touch feels like it belongs inside a vehicle costing considerably more money. And the Avatr 12 receives software updates transmitted directly over the internet, meaning it doesn't remain permanently frozen at whatever version it happened to be running when it originally left the factory. Over time, it gradually acquires new features, improved performance, and refined interfaces. It genuinely improves while simply parked in your driveway, similar to how your smartphone improves whenever you install a fresh update. As impressive as everything covered so far genuinely is, it's not actually the element that stops people mid-sentence. That particular reaction occurs once you examine what the Avatr 12 can actually accomplish out on the road itself. Here's where things transition from merely interesting toward genuinely shocking. The Avatr 12 represents a large, comfortable, luxurious sedan, absolutely packed with screens, leather, and cutting-edge technology throughout. By every rule governing the automotive industry across recent decades, a vehicle like this should perform sluggishly. It should prioritize comfort considerably over speed. Yet the Avatr 12 shatters that particular rule so thoroughly it almost feels like some elaborate joke. The top-tier version features 2 electric motors generating approximately 578 horsepower combined. Torque output sits around 650 Newton-meters. Combine all of that together, and the Avatr 12 accelerates from 0 to 60 miles per hour in roughly 3.9 seconds. To genuinely appreciate how remarkable that figure actually is, consider this comparison. A BMW M5, widely regarded as among the most respected performance sedans anywhere on the planet, completes 0 to 60 in approximately 3.5 seconds. That particular vehicle costs well beyond $100,000. The Avatr 12, complete with massage seats and a 35-inch display and a glass roof, sits remarkably close behind it. The difference proves so minimal that most drivers would genuinely never notice it during actual real-world driving conditions. That's not sedan-level performance whatsoever. That's sports car performance wearing a tailored business suit, while comfortably transporting 4 adults in complete comfort. The battery pack holds 94.5 kilowatt-hours of stored energy, granting the Avatr 12 a range of approximately 700 kilometers under standardized testing conditions. In practical terms, that's genuinely sufficient to drive between distant cities with meaningful range remaining afterward. No anxiety whatsoever about locating a charging station along the way. You simply climb in and depart. The charging speed proves equally impressive. The Avatr 12 utilizes an 800-volt electrical architecture, identical technology employed by the world's most expensive electric vehicles to achieve remarkably rapid charging speeds. We're discussing adding hundreds of kilometers of range within roughly the time required to grab a coffee and stretch your legs briefly. Not hours whatsoever, merely the time needed to use a restroom, purchase a beverage, and return comfortably to your vehicle. But raw speed figures and battery specifications represent merely one component of what makes the Avatr 12 genuinely remarkable. It also carries 4 separate LiDAR sensors mounted throughout the vehicle. LiDAR technology utilizes invisible laser pulses to continuously scan everything surrounding the vehicle, constructing a comprehensive, real-time picture of the surrounding environment. Think of it essentially as the vehicle possessing eyes capable of observing every direction simultaneously, functioning effectively in darkness, throughout rainfall, and even through dense fog conditions. Most vehicles equipped with this particular technology utilize a single sensor, perhaps occasionally 2. The Avatr 12 carries 4 total sensors, meaning it can genuinely observe every direction simultaneously, with essentially zero blind spots remaining anywhere. All that gathered information feeds directly into a driving assistance system engineered by Huawei. It can competently handle highway driving conditions, execute lane changes autonomously, and park itself within remarkably tight spaces without assistance. And it accomplishes all of this with a smoothness that makes the experience feel considerably less like a computer system taking control and considerably more like having a calm, experienced co-pilot seated comfortably beside you. When you've got nearly 600 horsepower available instantly, the moment you press the accelerator pedal, having that particular level of intelligence continuously monitoring the road alongside you isn't merely a pleasant feature. It's genuinely exactly what you'd want present. But here's the particular detail that genuinely transforms the entire conversation surrounding the Avatr 12 altogether. Take everything we've just covered and mentally combine it together. The striking design, the immersive interior, the 35-inch dashboard display, the massage seating throughout every position, the 4 LiDAR sensors, the 800-volt charging architecture, the sub-4-second acceleration figures, the 700-kilometer range, the Huawei-developed software, all of it packaged together within the Avatr 12. Now imagine a European or American automaker attempting to construct something incorporating all those features simultaneously. A Mercedes EQE equipped with comparable technology easily surpasses $80,000. A fully equipped Tesla Model S sits considerably above that particular figure. A Porsche Taycan featuring comparable performance starts near $100,000 and climbs rapidly from there onward. That's simply what this particular level of technology typically costs. Nobody bats an eye anymore at a $100,000 luxury electric sedan. The Avatr 12 starts at roughly the equivalent of $37,000 throughout China. The fully equipped version, featuring every single feature we've just discussed, tops out around $59,000 total. Let that particular figure genuinely sink in for a moment. $59,000 for 4 LiDAR sensors, massage seating throughout every position, a 35-inch display, sub-4-second acceleration, 700 kilometers of range, and software engineered by one of the largest technology corporations found anywhere on Earth. That's not merely competitive pricing. That represents an entirely different price category altogether for this particular level of technology. Now, before you start researching import procedures, there are genuinely important complications worth understanding. Bringing the Avatr 12 into markets like Canada or the United States adds considerable additional costs. Import tariffs throughout Canada can reach a full 100% on Chinese-manufactured electric vehicles, effectively doubling the sticker price entirely. There are regulatory requirements to satisfy, safety certifications to obtain, crash testing protocols to complete, and emissions standards to meet. There are distribution networks, service centers, trained mechanics, and parts supply chains that all need to genuinely exist before anyone would feel comfortable purchasing one locally. All of that would push the final price well beyond the domestic Chinese figure entirely. But here's why that particular number still genuinely matters regardless. The point isn't that you could walk into a dealership tomorrow morning and purchase an Avatr 12 for $37,000 locally. The point is that a manufacturer can construct something with this particular level of capability and refinement at that specific base cost. That fundamentally resets what people believe is genuinely achievable. It demonstrates that the gap separating what we assume a luxury vehicle should cost from what it actually costs to manufacture one is considerably wider than anyone previously realized. And that's precisely what has established automotive brands paying extremely close attention right now. When a company can deliver 4 LiDAR sensors, 800-volt charging capability, premium materials throughout, and acceleration matching a BMW M5, all for under $40,000 within their domestic market, the question stops being whether the Avatr 12 can genuinely compete. The question becomes what happens to everyone else's pricing structure once vehicles like this begin reaching additional markets worldwide. What happens to a Mercedes EQE once buyers can obtain something matching or exceeding it across nearly every category for roughly half the price. The electric vehicle transition was always destined to become a genuine reset moment throughout the automotive industry. When you replace a traditional gasoline engine with electric motors and a battery pack, you fundamentally change who gets to build genuinely excellent vehicles. The advantages companies accumulated across a century spent perfecting internal combustion engines don't automatically transfer over into this new landscape. A company manufacturing gasoline engines since 1900 doesn't necessarily hold an inherent advantage over a company that only started 5 years ago. If that newer company genuinely understands electric motors, batteries, and software better than established competitors, new entrants can arrive without legacy factories requiring maintenance, without older models requiring protection, and without any obligation to continue doing things the way they've always historically been done. The Avatr 12 represents exactly what happens when that particular freedom encounters genuine engineering talent combined with real ambition. And this isn't some isolated one-time achievement either. It's part of an emerging wave of new vehicles arriving from companies most people throughout North America have genuinely never heard of previously. Each one continuously pushing the boundaries surrounding what a vehicle can actually be, what a vehicle should genuinely accomplish, and what a vehicle should reasonably cost. The competition unfolding within the premium electric vehicle segment is about to become the most compelling story throughout the entire automotive world. And the Avatr 12 represents merely the beginning of that particular story. If this video proved helpful or genuinely interesting to you, please tap that like button and subscribe so you don't miss whatever comes next. Tap the notification bell so you never miss a future upload. There are additional videos available on this channel exploring the future of electric vehicles and the companies actively shaping that particular future. Here's the question I genuinely want to leave you with. If the Avatr 12 became available throughout Canada or the United States tomorrow at a genuinely fair price, would you seriously consider choosing it over a Tesla, a BMW, or a Mercedes? Drop your answer down in the comments section below. I read every single response and I genuinely want to know what you think.